Whether it be with Stone Cold Steve Austin or whether it be with Triple H or whoever the Rock's opponent is laying the smack down on you. The Rock will lay it, the smack it down on your candy ass if you smell what the Rock is cooking.
The Rock was born in Hawaii, and his father was Rocky Johnson, a champion wrestler in his own right. The Rock was going to be a pro footballer, but fate decided otherwise, and he has become an electrifying presence in the world of sports entertainment.
What we're doing is sports entertainment. It is theatricality at its absolute best. We're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Things are predetermined. There is a routine. We always know who's going to win. Now, with the Harlem Globetrotters, you always know they're going to win.
Let's take a journey and find out how Dwayne became The Rock.
There's a lot of appeal with the character of The Rock. You know, it's a very non-linear character. There's a lot of depth in The Rock. But the fans, you know, we keep the fans on the edge of their seats. It's essentially a physical play that we go out and the stage is our ring.
But what is the difference between the ring personality of The Rock and the real Dwayne Johnson?
There's a true juxtaposition between these two characters. And myself, Dwayne Johnson, you've known for years, very laid back, very quiet, very humble. The character of The Rock, ironically enough, is just Dwayne Johnson with the volume turned way, way up.
After years of life on the road with his wrestling family, Dwayne finally put down some roots in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem is an old steel town, a melting pot of a place where you can see both ends of the social spectrum. Rocky Sr. chose Freedom High School for both its football and its fine academic program. Dwayne's father wanted him to be a pro footballer and not a wrestler.
Freedom High School is an outstanding high school. It's very good academically, it's very good athletically. I was very fortunate to serve here for 28 years as a teacher, a physical education teacher. I coached wrestling for 15 years at this high school. Great athletes have come through the doors, some great people. It's a good faculty, good student body. A nice blend here at Freedom as far as academics and athletics.
You think about, go back and you look at his family, you know, they had moved around year to year to year, and I think that in Dwayne's heart, obviously, this was a place where he put down roots, and when you get to talk to Nick, you know, he's got a guy that he still is in contact with, and obviously, you know, I would think that this is his home.
There was respect immediately from all guys. You see a big muscular guy and all of a sudden, boom, you're already feeling the status as being popular, even if you're a bully, but he wasn't. So that was a positive. So he was popular, and also with the girls, he was popular in the sense that he was unique, he was different. When you see The Rock, you're not sure, is he Hawaiian, is he Spanish? You know, there's a different look that you don't have in Bethlehem. So he was also popular with the girls.
Well, if I would think of Dwayne Johnson, as I mentioned earlier, he was a gentleman. I would really consider him in every sense of the word a gentleman. Good athlete, but he was the type of person that you knew Dwayne had a good heart. He really would help other people out. I would see Dwayne just in his everyday routine that he was not aloof. He was down to earth. He was very easily approachable by the other students. He had some very good friends that I know that he developed contacts with and still has contact with in the city of Bethlehem. And very well liked by his teachers, by his classmates. And as I said, I think the word, and I would not use it with just anyone, but Dwayne Johnson I would consider to be very much a gentleman.
You had a guy who didn't have a lot of depth to him, kind of smiled a lot. I was always told you can't smile enough, Dwayne, when you go out there. And the fans, it wasn't palatable, so to speak, to the fans.
I'm Woody myself, although now he's been practicing pretty hard. I don't know if I can hang with him. I think I do okay, and we still do. We still make side comments when we get together in a public gathering. For example, if he's in an autograph session, he'll say something outlandish to mock me in a group of people who we don't know. It's his fans. And then I save it for him and give it back to him 5-10 minutes later, so we still do that to this day. But yes, the tongue lashings went both ways, and I think that was the beginning of him honing his skills, going back and forth. Absolutely, very witty individual.
The hard work ethic characterized the young Dwayne.
Education was important because, as you can see now, somebody who's as articulate as he is and speaks well, you have to have some type of intelligence, some kind of brain. So as far as school was concerned, because our ultimate goal was to go to college on a football scholarship, that became our passion along with the working out. You needed the grades. So we took the college prep courses, you know, the maths, the readings, the writings that you needed for the appropriate credits, and in order to further our aim to get our scholarship. And this is something to, for the young kids, the generation who's watching this. Socially, we like to have fun. We go to movies on weekends, go to various parties. But a testament to our ultimate goal, which was to go and get a full scholarship in football and our training, never ever utilized any of that nonsense that all kids are exposed to today, the drugs, the drinking, none of that. It was a pretty healthy lifestyle, and a positive one at that. So I think that's very important for kids to know that The Rock, no, did not experiment with drugs, and alcohol wasn't part of the lifestyle at all. Could still have fun without it. And although kids nowadays feel they need the funny stuff, the alcohol, the drugs, what spiced up our parties was just to be ourselves in any social setting and to have fun. And having fun meant all in good jest, just, you know, mocking one another or other people. And as you see now, it's such a talent and skill that it makes them millions and millions of dollars on TV.
The Rock will lay it to smack it down on your candy ass.
I actually think that the year before I became the head football coach, he had inquired. You know, he came in from a couple different areas because he moved all over the place with his dad, who obviously was a professional wrestler. And he inquired, I don't know to who specifically, but just about playing football here at Freedom High School. And we gave him a shot. And I remember his junior year, he did play football. And I think at that time he was a defensive end. I think he only played 1 year as a defensive end. And then the next year when I became the head football coach, we made him an offensive and a defensive tackle. And that's basically how he evolved into the football program here at Freedom High School.
Playing football, let's see, our junior year, I remember both of us getting varsity exposure, having some fun, going through a time of change where we were pretty much plugged into where we were needed for the team, but wasn't in our best interest as individuals if we wanted to pursue our college dreams. Going into our senior year, now that's when Dwayne was receiving all these awards, recognition. I believe it was a coach from Berwick, Pennsylvania, who saw Dwayne play against Liberty High School our junior year, and he saw, wow, who's this mountain of a kid? And he's only a junior, you know, 6'3". How many juniors you know that are 6'3", 235, solid muscle, with big cannons for arms? His arms aren't that much bigger than what they were when he was 15, 16 years old, so that's amazing.
We played Liberty his senior year, which obviously Freedom and Liberty used to be the big rival here in Bethlehem, and I can't remember if it was a third or a fourth down, but it was a heck of a football game, and they ran the same offense that we ran, so we had an idea what they were going to do, and I remember it because it was, you know, it was a big play, and we did a little stunt with Dwayne, and it was the end of the football game. He won the football game. He broke through the line of scrimmage, tackled the fullback in the backfield for about a 3-yard loss, and that was it. And then the next moment, maybe 10 minutes later, somebody just asked me a few weeks ago, another interview, about, did you ever think that Dwayne had that thing that you see on TV, because he has a persona that's unbelievable, you know, with his little stitch. And I said, yeah, he held up the trophy that we got, I think it was the George Rosetto trophy, and he pointed at the camera like that, and you could just, right in that, you could see that, you know, he had it. There was something about him that he had it.
Damn good to be a Miami Hurricane.
Football was Dwayne's first love, but wrestling always called to him as a possible future.
When I was the head wrestling coach at Freedom High School in the mid-1980s, I happened to see Dwayne Johnson in a physical education class when he moved to Bethlehem from Hawaii. And Dwayne was a very well-built, I'd say he was about 6'3", about 240 pounds at the time. Natural athlete, seemed like a real tough kid. I asked him if he would like to try out for the wrestling team, and he did come in the room with us for the better part of a week. I know that he mentioned in the book that he has written, The Rock says that he was only in the room for one day, but it was actually more like a week that he was out for the team.
When Dwayne first came in here, I and the rest of the football staff thought that what a great example for the other kids in the football program to follow, because one of Dwayne's biggest assets, obviously, is his character in terms of determination to succeed at something.
I would say that Dwayne Johnson, as an amateur wrestler, not in the WWF, but as an amateur wrestler, had unlimited potential. He certainly had the tools to be a heavyweight champion. He weighed at the time about 235 or 240 pounds, and he was quick, he was agile, he had good balance, he was a quick learner, he was an intelligent athlete. I watched him play football. He was very good on the line of scrimmage. He played the defensive end position. And I can remember Dwayne just pushed people right off the line of scrimmage in the football season.
Physically, I remember seeing him in the hallways and remarking to a lot of people, not just the football staff, but all the people involved in athletics. My goodness, what a specimen as a kid who's 6'4", 230, 240 pounds. As a sophomore or junior in high school, you obviously inquire about him.
As far as working out was concerned, we're two young 15-year-olds trying to compete with the magazine articles of do 20, 25 sets per body part, which is ridiculous. Because at the time we were working out and just overtraining horrendously. But although that was the case, Dwayne, being genetically gifted, was still able to produce gains. So for example, we'd work out Monday through Saturday. Our workouts would be about 3 hours long, and it was just crazy, You tell someone we do 20, 25 sets for arms, they just look at you funny. So that's how working out was for us. It was a lot of fun. Everything revolved around that.
When he was a junior and a senior in high school, his biggest thing was the weight room. And he didn't even refer to it as the weight room. He referred to it as training. And when we wanted kids to follow somebody, obviously, we wanted to follow by example. And if you wanted to check out where Dwayne was and you couldn't find him, you could go to the weight room or where he lifted at a club.
As successful as he is now, I've yet to see, and once again, this is my first year coaching and just seeing kids, as much as he had, didn't matter. He still worked hard. He never missed a workout. Missing a workout or anything like that was like missing a meal. So I would say the best memories would be that we had working out, training in the heat, pushing one another. And socially, oh God, there's a lot of good social memories. I can go on and on, but some wouldn't be appropriate.
Locker room banter became the natural language of The Rock.
First of all, you should take your bass out of your voice when you talk to The Rock like that. And The Rock says this: there's many reasons why you're a jabroni and you certainly don't deserve a minute worth of The Rock's time. But The Rock says this: The Rock is over the edge in terms of arrogance, in terms of ego. But at the same time, The Rock has the people's eyebrow. And The Rock also says this: he's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. He has the people's elbow, the people's eyebrow, the rock bottom.
And I did show him some pretty good moves that he was very effective with. In fact, he mentions the smackdown and he mentions the people's elbow, but he was very good at what we call the cement job. He used to take an underhook and he would get the opponent's head, and he was so powerful he could just pick the opponent up and he could hoof them right over onto their back without too much effort. And he had a lot of success with that move in the few days that he spent in the room with us, and I really look forward to having him as a member of our team.
Even Dwayne couldn't do everything, and football always came first.
I do have to say that I admired Dwayne Johnson, Rocky Maivia, in that he came and talked to me about wanting to quit his wrestling experience in high school. Many times when a student would quit the team, you might not see them, or they might just kind of like get lost and you would wonder what happened to them. But he approached me very much like a gentleman that he is, and he said to me that he really didn't like to give it up, but he did feel that it was too much of a burden on him. I remember he used those words because he was involved in bodybuilding at the time. He had just finished football season. He was out for wrestling for the better part of a week. He was also competing where he would travel and compete in bodybuilding competitions. So I did not have Dwayne Johnson as I thought I would for the entire season. I do believe he would have been an outstanding amateur wrestler. He really had all the tools to be a great wrestler. As I said, he was a great athlete. He had the eye of the tiger, I say, like a lot of athletes have, some don't, and it's something you can't really coach in an athlete. For some reason, some people just have that mental toughness, and I could see that in Dwayne Johnson as a 17-year-old student.
You know, obviously, his athletic ability, which you can see every couple nights on TV, was fantastic. I thought, and I remember going into his senior year, all the magazines, all the super preps, and all the people that were interested in him, you know, and I remember specific quotes where I said, you know, his assets were his strength and his athletic ability. I mean, as a senior in high school, he was benching over 400 pounds. So I, you know, in my mind, there was no limit to what he could achieve on the football field. I mean, that's the way I felt about it. Now, let me just say that when he went down to Miami, he played with some great football players. You know, the Warren Sapps of the world were right next to him, and he got his reps. He was usually the second or the third tackle in, and he got a lot of playing time. But I think, you know, when he went to Canada and he saw, you know, maybe the real world of football, and I think obviously in the end, I mean, you would have never been able to predict it, but he made a great decision on what he chose to do.
Dwayne didn't make it in football, and stranded in Canada with little chance to make it in the NFL, he decided to go home and wrestle.
It shows you what type of person you have to be to make it to the NFL. As great as an athlete as he was, which he was phenomenal, I guess it's just another innate ability you need to have, or God-given talent. I don't know if it was the fact of his injuries that hampered him, some bad breaks. I mean, let's face it, he was playing at the University of Miami with some All-American #1 draft picks who are now, you know, making the Pro Bowl every year. I mean, if Dwayne Johnson played at Penn State, he would have been a 3-year starter. Florida State, maybe a 2-year starter. There was a time in the mid-'90s at Miami when, I mean, we can go on the list, the Russell Marylands, the Cortez Kennedys, the Warren Sapps, the Ray Lewises. These guys were all his teammates. So who knows, maybe a little bit more exposure would have been interesting.
I really would not be afraid to say that Dwayne Johnson could have been a district champion in this area as a heavyweight wrestler with very little experience. In fact, had he had maybe 1 year under his belt, I think he could have won a district title for Freedom High School. In fact, Dwayne probably could have done very well in the PIAA in the state tournament.
I thought he would be an All-Pro. I just said to somebody earlier, I remember the first time we timed him in the 40. I mean, at that time, his senior year, he was 6'5", 260 at that time. He ran a 4.7 40 in sneakers. So, you know, obviously, we thought that the sky was the limit for him.
I'm convinced he would have gotten scholarships more so for wrestling than for football. And I do believe that Dwayne could have been a national champion, like an NCAA champion in collegiate wrestling, had he had the experience and continued on wrestling.
And I'll quote him, the words he says is he misses being on that field with those other 10 guys, but he wouldn't trade it in for what he's doing now. He loves it.
The University of Miami football team is famous for its trash talking to the opposition. That's a major part of the UM game.
See a lot of the UM influence in the character of The Rock, whether it be with Stone Cold Steve Austin or whether it be with Triple H or whoever the Rock's opponent is, he is constantly talking trash.
I saw him a few times play football in Miami, actually down at the Vet. I saw him play at Temple a couple times. I saw him out in Pittsburgh, and one of the things my wife's biggest comment about Dwayne is that's not him. When you see him and his persona on TV, that is really not Dwayne. Dwayne is a down-to-earth kid who is a hard worker, who has a lot of character, and you'd be surprised to meet him if you were out somewhere socially. He's just not what you see on TV. He's a great character and hard worker, a down-to-earth kind of guy.
If repeating what The Rock says, laying the smackdown on you, is the worst that your kids are saying, well, that's not all that bad.
And when he first broke in, I was like, okay, he'll do well. And people can always say, oh, well, he had his grandfather and father in the business. Yeah, that being said, but he took it to such a level that no one could take away from him. And I really don't care what kind of a push he received from Vince McMahon or anyone else. No one delivers like he does on the mic. And he just pushed it to incredible levels. He's mainstreamed it. So there's other wrestlers who have their kids involved now, but who are they? We don't know who they are unless you're a diehard fan.
I would think that if you graduated high school, that 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line, if you still have that great love, I mean, obviously, what a positive experience it must have been for him.
How I feel is I get to go into his world at times when we get together, and whether it's riding in a limousine with him, or whether it's being in a dressing room with him, or in a restaurant, you get to see the world he lives. Totally opposite extremes. It's wild.
Don't interrupt The Rock. The Rock will lay it to smack it down on your candy ass if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Not everybody can start as high up the ladder as The Rock. Back at the grassroots of hardcore wrestling, we go behind the scenes to wrestling school. In a historic moment, Moondog Spot, the former WWF World Tag Champion, speaks on camera for the very first time.
I'll say I watched The Rock grow up. I was with Rock before he was Rock. When he come through Tennessee, I was one of the ones that helped him learn what he learned today. You know, when he come to Tennessee, he was just green. He didn't really know what was going on. But then he had to face a lot of people like us. We taught him a lot. He learned a lot from us. And then I watched him go from down here all the way up to here. I'm responsible part of it because I got him part of the way because I've had probably 100 matches with him while he was around the USWA. I mean, he was taught to listen and listen to the old folks, listen to the veterans. His daddy, Rocky Johnson, was probably the first really big star of his identity in Memphis. His famous thing was a drop kick. He would do a little bit of a dance and he would drop kick you. There was nobody could do it but him. His arms was probably 20 inches. That's when I got associated with Jimmy Snuka, the Wild Samoans, which was that time was Alpha and Sika. Now there were two guys right there that was very violent, except they didn't use no chairs or cans or anything like that, but they were very, very brutal if they wanted to be. Again, I run with all these guys. You know, I was just a young punk. Like I said, Andre the Giant was the one that actually carried me to New York. We were managed by Lou Albino. We used the Moondogs, Moondog Spot and Moondog Rex. We held the tag team belts for a solid year there. Most of my matches never got into the ring. They started from the time that you hit the arena floor. You didn't know what you were going to do. I've took out rails, I've took out the chairs, I fell out of the bleachers. I would always take a 6-foot board, a one battine. And if they seen the board, that risky, but I broke many a board across people's heads and trash cans. It never bothered us. I guess it did, we just didn't realize it. You know, we would just kept going forward. And people couldn't understand. You know, you get smashed upside the head and here and there, you just keep coming at me with it. You know, they don't understand. They took us off of TV because we were running people off. We were actually, they were scared of us. They had an old saying, Jerry Jarrett did, if you could last 3 matches with the Moondogs, I'll book you on my next big show. But most of them wouldn't last but 2 matches. When you stepped in that ring with us, it was just too bad.
Whew, that's gotta hurt. Okay, first find a good school, because without a good teacher, you'll get ripped off.
The Moondog School, we teach you everything you need to know. There's a right way to be trained and a wrong way. If somebody says they can train you for $300, they train you the wrong way. If they say they can train you for $500, you're gonna get trained the wrong way. What they'll do is take you in there 15 minutes to 30 minutes in the ring, throw you around a little bit, and say, now you're a wrestler. But that's not what it's about.
When I was a kid, my dad used to take me, and from when I was 5 years old, you know, up till 18, 19, that's all I used to talk about, you know, just a dream. And I always told him, I said, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a wrestler, and here I am.
I recommend, you know, you find a school, you stick with it, you know, if you're gonna do it, you stick with it, but think about it before you do it, because it is a lot tougher than what most people think. Lots of people think that, you know, the ring's like a trampoline, and it really isn't.
To become a true athlete in the wrestling business, you've got to know what the other fella's going to do. You've got to know how to protect yourself. We teach that. We teach to move your hand where you're not going to break your wrist. A lot of stuff you protect yourself on, but a lot of people don't tell you that.
I've been in Moondog's school for about a year, so pretty much everything that I can do, I've learned from him.
Well, you gotta wanna do it, put it that way. If you don't wanna do it, and you don't have your mindset to it, then you better stay at home.
We try to be gentle, not gentle, rugged, but the same other sense. We don't want their ears cauliflowered, we don't want their nose broke or anything like that. We try to teach you where you don't, that don't happen. A lot of stuff you've got to take care of your own self on. Like lock up, first thing the person's gonna do is headbutt you in the face. We teach you how to put your hand up in front of your face and they can't headbutt you. If your hand, somebody goes to grab your arm, your hand's always sticking straight out. You've got to move that hand. If you don't move that hand, you're gonna break your wrist. So you just take your hand, you just fold it down. Then you don't break any wrist. But that's the thing about wrestling. You have to know everything to be a wrestler. Like if you was wrestling Big Daddy, for instance, he's got the advantage because he knows what he's doing. He can tell and look in your eye pretty well what you fix to get because he's done it so much. He can get something that if you resist it, it's gonna hurt worse. So it's best to go on. He's going to get it anyway, so you might as well just go on and let him have it because you're gonna get it the easy way or the hard way. They're gonna still get it. But that's the part, like we know, it's not we don't rehearse, we just know the wrestling business. Like we know when we lock up, who's got the advantage, we can feel the advantage. We know, we don't have to say nothing. We know we're gonna get it.
Don't let anybody belittle you. You can't be a wrestler if you don't believe in yourself.
Our goal and Moondog's goal is to push somebody out there and help them learn the business and get out in the business. And our guys can do this. We have several guys that are well capable. All they need to be at the right place at the right time. We have guys come in here to wrestle with us that come out of other schools, and it's almost embarrassing. Matter of fact, we've almost got to the point where they can come out to our school one night workout before we put them on the show because we've been embarrassed. They'll come out here and they just don't know how to do anything. Because so many people have ripped them off, just get their money, don't care if they ever become a wrestler or not. We're not that way.
What does it take to get a lot of heart, a lot of desire, a lot of sweat, pain?
A lot of times I would, just get off in dreams about the wrestling, but my mom and dad never took me serious. They never really thought that's what I wanted. And I'd always tell my daddy, and he would laugh and say, well, if that's what you want to do, until the day I joined the wrestling school, and then he believed me. Starting out, like I say, is very, very hard because to make money, if you don't know how to put any people into the seats, that's a knowledge you got to learn. You won't make any money to start with. You are not going to make any money to start with. You're going to live on a dream. You're not going to make any money. You go on and you learn how to make money and learn how to put people in those seats. Then you start your career. If you get your career, what we call getting a break, means you got discovered. You're a product that makes money. Leave your home. Don't embarrass yourself in your hometown. Leave. Make your name come back. Be a star. Make your town proud of you.
To be a wrestler requires conditioning. The ring is a tough place, and just working out isn't enough.
When I first started wrestling, I decided that what I needed to do was get in the gym, do what I had to do. I exercised real hard, I lifted a lot of weights, and just be confident in yourself. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Because it takes a real man to be a wrestler. All I gotta say is, if you don't think wrestling's real, you just get in that ring with a wrestler at any point in time. You might be a fan. You step up in that ring, and we'll show you that it ain't real. We'll put it to you worse than you have anybody ever put it to you before.
I'd take your head and I'd put it like right here, and I'd put your arm over my head, and I'd just grab you, just bend down with you, and then I'd just whip you over on your back. You've seen the standing ones where they just stand, but you don't have time to think about it. You're just there. And that's my favorite one.
Everything we do hurts to a certain extent. Everything hurts. We've just got a tolerance to pain where we can be in there 20 or 30 minutes and not realize that we are hurt anything until we go sit down, and then that's when we start finding where we hurt.
I was wrestling a boy. He just started. He had been wrestling maybe 2-3 weeks. He just got out of school, started wrestling 2-3 weeks. He come from the top rope with a crossbody and landed on my shoulder, and that's the most pain I ever felt.
Wrestling is no stroll in the park. And if you don't want to get trashed with a boat paddle, hit with a garbage can, or stuck in caged mayhem, then maybe wrestling isn't for you.
If you get into the wrestling business and think you're not going to get any knocks or bruises, you're fooling yourself. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. But those that love it and really want to do it, that's not going to stop them.
My scars, they layers and layers deep. They're from various things, getting head banged in the post, your head drug on the apron, not letting it heal properly, and it happens again. Makes it look nastier than what it is. But I've always had a high tolerance to pain.
Ow! God, ain't it funky?
I don't know, I guess for just, somebody to grab somebody else and try these moves, that, easy to break a bone. I've had broken bones, that's with the training. And I imagine just about every wrestler has had some kind of bone or another broke or something, go wrong in the ring. So sure, for somebody that's not trained, it's very dangerous.
When I broke my collarbone, and cracked a couple ribs, probably the same match, splash, and guy splashed me. When I first started, I was a lot smaller, and the guy was bigger than what I am now. He just come down on me, and it's just like I couldn't move.
Because I believe we're going out and doing what everybody else wishes they could do. We can do it in the ring and get away with it where they can't. choke, stomp, you know, punches, just about anything.
If anybody that says wrestling is not true, or to experience it. And experience it, if you can get in there, I'll tell you what, if anybody can get in there and last 5 minutes, I would be amazed. Because, like I said, wrestling is awful tough. To be a wrestler, you've got to have it in your heart. You can't be a wrestler if you can't get in your heart. You know, that's just something that you can't just come off and say, I want to be a wrestler. It just don't work that way.
Go get it, go get it. Like that.
When you get into the ring with Moondog Spot, you better show him some respect.
Yeah, I watched wrestling. We grew up in Memphis watching Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee. Then, you know, as wrestling got bigger, we started watching like Hogan and Randy Savage. I'd say overall Kevin Nash is probably my favorite wrestler now.
I guess my favorite wrestler time was Jackie Fargo. I mean, that was my idol. I'll tell you a story about that. You know, I idolized him all my life. You know, I've always liked Jackie Fargo. I never thought the day that I would be in the ring with him. Then I got up in my career, when he was on the way out of his career, I happened to wind up in a match with him. And I was afraid to do anything to him because this is my idol. I've got to beat up my idol, you know, and I just didn't have the heart, but he did. He took matters in hand.
Well, my dad's my biggest idol, Moondog Spot. I mean, he's the only man that I seen went out there. I mean, he'd go out there and he'd just tear somebody apart. I mean, it didn't matter what. I mean, it didn't matter what time of day. I mean, if he was his brother, he'd whoop him. He's took his own cousin before on TV and just beat him plumb silly. I mean, he's beat him so bad he's made blood come out his back. I mean, and that's the only person I've ever really seen do that.
Across the ring from the Moondog, that'd be one of the best. You know, I've watched him, you know, and I've always dreamed about getting in the ring with him. Once I did, you know, just chills. It's just nothing like it, you know.
I mean, because not everybody gets to go to the WWF and be a champion of any kind. I mean, you see people that have been there for 10, 15 years and ain't been champion one. He went up there and he became the tag team champions, and that's something you'll never forget.
In order to make it in the wrestling ring, you need to become a character. So choose carefully, because when the pain takes over, the character has to step in.
I was just sitting down one day, and you always got to go by and say a name. You go by and say about 10,000 names before you, and that just kind of clicked for me. It really made me say who I am, because I'm very comfortable with myself. I'm very full of myself, and the Hollywood just brought it out in me.
Why Moondog? That's a tough one. The roughness, you know, the violence of it, it just fits me. Moondog. I've always had that craziness in me anyway, so it kind of goes along with me. You know, the character fits me.
I got part of it, you know, from the bands I listen to, from the music I listen to. I don't know, I wanted to be like an evil type character, and it just seemed to work.
Somebody making you a character to me is not a wrestler. You know, if they told me to be Frankenstein, that's not a wrestler to me. I have to be what I am. Like the Moondog, nobody really created the Moondog. Nobody really told me how to be a Moondog. It was just something that was just, I guess, was always in my body that I guess that I come out.
How evil is my character? Well, as evil as I can make it.
Heel or babyface? the pain is the same. Ow!
Well, I guess it depends if you're a heel fan or a baby fan. But from my point of view, I always like to see the babies land in the ring. You know, it doesn't matter how we leave them there as long as we leave them there.
They need both heels and babyface because that's what the fans come to see. The fans want to see a good guy go out there and beat up a smart aleck.
Well, it's just what, like a way of life for the heels. You know, we just get the adrenaline flowing, and it's just the big rush. I mean, when you get the crowd reaction, and it's just like, I guess the baby face is how they get it when they come out and they pop. And, you know, they clap for them, and it just makes us feel good to have to be booed, and you know.
I'll be honest with you. I don't always use all clean tactics because they don't. And if I can handle them and do it right, I will. But if they start gouging or whatever, I will too. I'll give a guy a low blow in a minute. But I'm a good guy. I won't do it if he'll wrestle me right. But most of the heels are not going to wrestle you right. So therefore, if they can do it, I can do it.
After you turn bad, I mean, there really ain't no turning back. I mean, because myself, I really enjoy coming out here and making these people hate me. I mean, really, to be honest.
A lot of the guys, after they get in the business, they get things in their head that they're better than what they are, and they want to be Mr. Cocky or Mr. Attitude, and they really enjoy being on that side of the fence.
Why do these guys put themselves through hell and back? Because once you step into the ring, it all becomes worth it.
It means a lot to me. I look forward to coming up here on Friday and Saturday nights. I really look forward to wrestling. I mean, because if I don't wrestle on Friday and Saturday, I mean, I'm really disappointed.
I have to have that one day a week. Just about everybody does. If you don't have that one day in that wrestling, it's like your body is missing some kind of vitamin you should need. I have to have it. I mean, I cannot do that.
Well, I guess like every other wrestler, I'd like to make it to one of the big time organizations and, you know, be the next poster or, you know, the next little doll, something like that. I'd like to get that far. But I'm just happy with the adrenaline rush and getting in the ring and, you know, having the fun.
I don't know, it gets my adrenaline flowing. If a person has a cut, it just, I don't know if you call it warped or whatever, but it just gets my adrenaline going.
I guess just walking out and hearing the crowd, you know, the reaction that you get, like when you leave somebody laying, or, you know, like when you use a chain or whatever, you know, just hear the crowd. It doesn't matter, you know. I don't care if they boo me. I don't care if they cheer for me, you know, as long as I get in there and I get some reaction.
Wrestling is for heroes. Without courage, just don't get into the ring.
A little place over in Tennessee. You fought to the ring, you fought in the ring, and you fought back to the dressing room. No security, no ropes around or bars around the ring. It's just fans were everywhere and taking cheap shots on your way in, cheap shots on your way out.
It's probably between Puerto Rico and Tennessee. It's probably my roughest one. I'd say Puerto Rico, for the comeback pay, you had more trouble out of the people than anything. And it just was not safe wherever you were. It used to be so bad in Puerto Rico that you had to chain the chairs down. It was so bad. Now I'm going back to where I think we should draw combat pay, because it was dangerous. We wrestled on baseball fields, and you put the ring in front of the net so they couldn't throw nothing at you. But you had to go to the dugout. That was your dressing room. That was the worst part. When you started for the dugout, up the top of your head, they'd be throwing stuff at you. And every one of them could be a baseball player because they didn't miss the target. Whatever they could get, they used to, now this may sound like a joke, but they used to sell rocks and bags of rocks outside the building. And that the people would buy a sack of rocks and go sit up in the bleachers and wait for you to come out behind that net. A lot of times I'd pay my own security guard because there's no way possible you get to the dugout without that security. We was on the way back from dugout one time, and one security guys grabbed me and pulled me down. But just as he pulled me down, I didn't know that he was going for the guy that was beside me. The guy had a knife, and when he stabbed at me, when the guy grabbed me by the hair, he pulled me sideways, and the knife went right down the side of my neck. And it never touched me. It just went right through the edge of my beard. And they got him, and he got served time out of it. But that was pretty close. If you hadn't been there, I guess I wouldn't have been here.
Cowboy and the bull rope match. We've done one of them. That was a pretty tough match. Well, you're strapped together by a bull rope. Each man's got it strapped on their arms. And then there's a cowbell in the middle of the rope, and you can use the ropes and cowbell at your will to do what you want to. I got quite a few hits to the head with the cowbell, to the back, drug around the ring, choked. I have, a wife and I have children. Well, I guess sort of they understand. They know that, I am trained and, that I'm not, I guess killing myself. But I get in the back of their head, they still, I don't know how to say it. They still don't like to see it, I guess would be it. They're still scared for me and stuff like that.
Well, as my goals right now, I'd like to make it big time one of these days. I am a professional wrestler, but if I don't, I'm just going to have fun with it.
I haven't been to the height that I would like to be, but I've had a few belts here and there, and I've been all over the United States and parts of Canada, and I'd like to, just go other places. And right now I'm satisfied right here because it's where everything's at to me right here. It's where the top talent is for this area, and I'm happy to work here.
Well, it makes you feel like, you're on top of the world, like you're really somebody, like you're a god to them, because not everybody gets that treatment.
I'd like to see myself, in a bigger organization, but, there's a lot of competition out there, so, it's hard to say where you'll be in 5 years.
I think wrestling as a whole is at its peak right now, is as big as it's ever been, possibly as big as it'll ever be. But I think that, and it's what we thrive on at Moondog Championship Wrestling. Matter of fact, our saying is wrestling the way wrestling used to be. I think that people, because I have people tell me this all the time, they'll come to our shows and they'll say, boy, this is better than TV, or, really, this is the best I've seen in a long time. I think people is wanting to see the old-time wrestling, the way wrestling used to be.
I think that wrestling is not real. We'll invite you down to our training camp. You can choose your guy, whoever you want to work out with, and I will guarantee you, when he's done with you, you will change your mind. And you can pick girls, you can pick a girl, you can pick any student we have in our school at the time, and in 5 minutes' time, you'll change your mind about wrestling. Because I would offer money to people that could get out some of the hopes. I would give I would give anybody $500 could get out of a figure four. I would give anybody $500 to get out of a one-armed chicken wing. I would get anybody money that could get out of the host that Big Daddy puts on you, because you know we're trained to do this. I mean, we're real. I don't like the idea that anybody says wrestling's fake, because it's not. Wrestling is not a show. Wrestling is a lot of conditioning, a lot of technicalities to it that you've got to know. And like I said, any normal person just couldn't be a wrestler.
Moondog Spot has spoken for the first time ever in the history of wrestling. And if you've listened, you may have learned. Respect, Moondog.